Okay guys, I'm in my BMW E30, a 1989 325i SE. I've owned this car for a while now, since March last year, coming I think 10 months or so now, and I haven't done a review. In fact, let me know if you want me to do a full proper review like I do with classic cars and other cars, and maybe around when the weather gets a bit better I'll do something. But I haven't done any review of the car. But what I thought I'd do today is just give you a very brief snapshot, a brief idea of why this car is just so wonderful to own. This is a 325i, remember, this is not an M3, but it has the torque. This thing has a straight 6, 170 horsepower, which by today's standards, nothing. But back in the day, wow, that was plenty. And as you can see for this car, it's still plenty. The incredible thing about this car is that I used to own one in the 90s. When I got back into this car a year ago, it felt like a time machine. It just all came back to me. It's as good as I remember. Now I'm on this little road here. The great thing about this car is the steering. It's power assisted steering, but there's a lot going on through the steering and through the chassis where you can heel and tow this car. The pedals are so perfectly placed. It's so nice to do. But this is a rear-wheel drive car. You might worry about the grip, but there isn't. There's plenty of grip in this car. The handling is so good. The steering is so talkative. It's giving you so much information. I mean, this road, I can feel every bump, I just love being, oh man, and you just go knock down a gear and just get that torque coming in. But right now, it just glides so well. The body is so well planted. There isn't any movement, any excessive movement. You can see why, people would just fall in love with the car back in the day. And you don't need supreme driving skills or anything like that. It's just absolutely fantastic in what it does. Again, going back to the steering, not too heavy, not too light. At higher speeds on motorways, I feel it gets a little bit too light sometimes. But at these sort of speeds, it's absolutely fine. It does exactly what you need it to do. But also, I think the weighting is very good, along with the 5,500 RPM, second gear wheel spin. I remember back in the day, in the way I used to get up the third gear wheel spin in this car. I mean, I don't really do that so much these days. I don't at all, actually. The point being that it gives me so much pleasure to drive this car. Now the thing about this car, again, it's just so nice to grip that throttle, and to turn it in, the response, the poise, the handling, and then you just get, I mean, it's not super fast. We're not doing fast speeds by today's standards. Most people say you're not actually going that quickly. It's true, I'm not. But you know what? It feels like I'm going quickly, and I'm enjoying it. Whatever speed it is, I'm enjoying it. The ride of the car is actually really good. This particular car is very well screwed together. There's one rattle that's coming from the rear. I think that might be the exhaust is a little bit loose, so I'll have to get that seen to. But other than that, it's fairly tight. There's a few little squeaks and things. The glove box sometimes flies open, but other than that, it is a 33-year-old car, But other than that, it's very well settled, very well planted. At each corner, it's absorbing the bumps very, very well. It's soaking it up. It's keeping its composure. It's controlling the body. It's giving you confidence, which is coming also from the steering wheel, also from the seat of your pants. Everything about it is just joyful. It's interactive. It's encouraging. Normally I'm driving this around town slowly, but even then the pleasure is there because the gear change is so sweet. It's so perfectly weighted. It's just got the right amount of springiness in it. It's got the right amount of resistance to it. It's at the perfect level from where I am. The ergonomics of the back in the day, we used to say this is the best, most ergonomic car in its era. It's not now. The instrument panel is not great. The pedals are offset to the right. There are little things, but the center dashboard is inclined towards the driver, so there's things like that. Everything makes sense. The indicators, the wipers, all of that works really, really well. Everything in this car works. It's very driver orientated. It definitely is. It's all about the driver. It's about catering to you as the driver. And again, you can see why so many people move to this car. So many people aspire to this car. Why it was a yuppie 80s icon. In fact, if you couldn't get a Porsche 911, you got this one. And this is what you moved up to from a Golf GTI. I mean, a Golf GTI was definitely below this in the hierarchy of things. then there was this, and then after this there was just a 911. So you can see where, you know, how good this was. Oh, it's just like, you know, not necessary to go into second gear, but just to do that, feed the power in, it grips, it holds, the engines rev, the rise, the power comes. It's just, you know, I mean, I've got to say, you know, I am very, very fortunate, very lucky. I've ticked just about everything off my bucket list, you know. I've driven all kinds of amazing and wonderful supercars. I've driven classics like, you know, even down to old Bentley blowers. I've driven a Formula One car, you know. And yet, if you told me right now that this was the only car that I could drive for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be unhappy. I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, sure, great. I mean, it pretty much gives me everything that I want in a car. You know, it gives me the satisfaction, the pleasure, the joy, but also the practicality, you know, and also it's a sensible car in that sense, you know. But so here we are on a road that's extremely rough, and you know, you're going to see me bouncing around for sure, you know, but it's not too stiffly. The suspension on this car is stock. I know a lot of people with these cars, they do change the suspension. I don't feel that that's necessary unless you're going to track it or whatever, or you're going to do a lot of stuff on B roads. But for my purposes, the fact that this road that I'm on right now is a road that I bring new cars to road test, because the ride is the surface is so bad. It's a real test of the ride. But and in some of those cars, you will see some videos where I'm literally being flung around, like, you know. But here it's like, you know, it's absorbing it. The body is moving, but the damping is so good that it's releasing it so nice. This is an old car. This is a 33-year-old car. It doesn't benefit from the suspension technology that we have now. But it's, you know, it's great. It's got the standard wheels on it. So, you know, I mean, back in the day you might have said low profile, but they're not low profile by today's standards, that's for sure. So that certainly helps. But it's just the setup of the car. It's just superb, you know, it really is. You just can't fault it. The bliss, the joy of just driving this car is just, oh man. It's hard to, in one sense, I'm trying my best, pulling together all my communicator, my journalistic abilities here to try and give you some indication of what it's like to be driving this car from 1989 in 2023. And the fact that I'm looking around me and I can see modern cars, and there's just nothing that I see that I would rather be in than in this car right now. You know, and that's the incredible thing. The fact that it's not only still works, the fact that it's not only, in a sense, still relevant, but the fact that it's still 33 years later, it does exactly what it was designed to do. It still provides all of the practicalities of the car that was designed to be basically a daily car, but at the same time, it also provides all the enjoyment and an entertainment factor of a car from its era. In fact, from any era, it's just great to drive. Gear change is just sublime. It's just absolutely. I've barely ever missed a gear with this thing. You know, it's just. I mean, it's a bit notchy, but then, you know, it's defined. You know, it's defined. It's telling you exactly what gear you're in, where you need to be. Really, really good. The clutch take-up is fantastic. The clutch weighting is very, very good. Yes, in traffic, in heavy traffic, it can get a bit tedious. You know, you can give yourself a leg workout. You don't need to do leg day that week, but generally, it's very well weighted. You know, it works really, really well. Brakes also are very good in this car, and this is the interesting thing, because very often in 80s cars compared to today's standards, you do get in them and you're like, oh shit, the brakes are not great. But this one, I mean, I've never had cause for complaint at all. I've never thought, oh yeah, the brakes need to be uprated in this thing. But and also, not only do they not need to be uprated, but the progressiveness, you know, the way that you apply them and then you get feel, but also you know how much or how little to apply them, because they're just really progressive. There's a little bit of movement. And there's the other thing is, yes, okay, you know, this is a car with the dynamics of a 33-year-old car, but with a very well set up 33-year-old car. Occasionally it will move, it will do stuff, you know, but it does it in a way that's very controllable, it does it in a way that's very intuitive, and it does it in a way that you are not taken by surprise. You know what's going on with the car. Also, you can feel it, you can hear it. This is the incredible thing, it's such a visceral car. So like a lot of classic cars, when you drive them, the thing that comes to mind is like, you're not so removed from the driving process as you will be in a modern car. You're connected with this thing. It's incredible, you know. I'll tell you what, it's just brilliant. cold it might be today, but the sun is out, the sunroof is open, the heating is on. Heating is really good in this car, by the way, and it's just brilliant. So anyway, I hope that gave you some indication or a little bit of a snapshot of what it's like to drive a 1989 BMW 325i, the E30 series. This is a two-door version. What it's like to drive it in 2023. Again, let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a full review of the car like I would normally do. So I'll be looking at practicality, looking at all the ergonomics, looking at the interior, looking at everything about the car and bringing you that soon. Let me know if you want me to do that and I will endeavor to do so. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next video. Brown car guy. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.